All right, guys, welcome back. Did we witness last night the biggest upset in the history of the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series last night? I think it's very, very close. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit today about TJ Stutts and what he was able to pull off last night at the Williams Grove Speedway for what was the makeup feature for the Morgan Cup that was rained out earlier in the year at the Williams Grove Speedway. A win for TJ Stutts that paid $17,000. I don't think he even cares about the money. I think he cares more about being able to beat the Outlaws on his home turf in dramatic fashion. I mean, he held off David Gravel after a late race slider. He drove around him on the start of the race and led, I believe, every single lap of the feature event. And I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable to think that TJ Stutts is an Outlaw winner. The guy's been doing it for a very, very long time, has been racing since the late 1990s, has been running at Williams Grove for, I would say, close to 20 years at this point, and only has one career victory prior to tonight's Outlaw win at the Grove. We're going to dive into the numbers here of TJ Stutts and show you just how much of a upset victory this was. Before we get into it, want to make sure that you guys are hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and comment down below. Do you think this was the biggest upset in the history of the Outlaws? I think it's at least number 2, maybe number 3. But number 2 for sure. Number 1, I don't know. We'll have to have that discussion down in the comment section. But it's definitely a huge, huge deal. And we'll see what he does tonight. Obviously, coming in with some huge momentum. This video being recorded on July 26th. So if you're watching this like in the future, TJ Stutts, he may have won again by now. But let's jump into it here. So TJ Stutts, 45 years old at the time of this win. He's driving his own number 11 car. As far as I know, he's the crew chief on the car. He makes all the setup calls, and he's been doing it, with him and his kid and a couple of guys here for the last couple of years, and it's been very impressive. It's just very impressive that he was able to pull off what he did tonight, and it seems like he's almost aging like a fine wine. He's getting better, I feel like, later into his career. Recently got his first ever Williams Grove win. He's the track record holder at the Grove now. So he's been doing some interesting things here over the last year and a half. So for TJ Stutts in his World of Outlaws career, 90 career World of Outlaws attempts where he's shown up to the racetrack and tried to make the A-Main. Last night was just his 56th A-Main appearance. So he has missed the show 44 times, if that math is correct. 44 times he's shown up and not even made the show. So it's not like he's a perennial guy that's in the show every time and he's running up front all the time, because look at this. He has one top 5 in his entire career previous to last night. He ran second at the Grove in 2007. And before that, that was his only top 5 at the Outlaws. He only had 9 top 10 finishes, and he's been running against them since 2005. So for the last, 19 years, he only had 1 top 5 and 9 top 10 finishes against the Outlaws. This is just going to prove my point a little bit more that this could be the biggest upset in the history of the Outlaws. In his career before last night, he only had 5 410 wins in his entire career. Now, he did have some wins in a 360, or 358. He beat URC a couple times, the Empire Super Sprints. He's won in the 358 division a couple of times. But when it comes to the 410, 5 wins. He won twice in 2006 at Sealands Grove Speedway. He won once in 2019 at Port Royal. He won once in 2021 at Lincoln. And then earlier this year, he got a local show win at the Grove, and then obviously getting the Outlaw win last night. So it's not like TJ Stutts, if you don't know who he is, or maybe this is the first time you've heard of him, or maybe last night was the first time you've heard of him. It's not like he's been dominating Central PA for years. He hasn't won the Central PA Speed League title. He hasn't won the Tusky 50. He hasn't won, big races at Lincoln, all this stuff, right? This is a guy that shows up. It's a hobby for him. He mentioned it in his Victory Lane interview last night, that this is something these guys do on the weekend. It's not like they're doing this for a full-time gig. They're not, going up and down the road into the Midwest and doing all these races and things like that, right? He has traveled a little bit here. He's gone to Eldora. He's gone to Peevely. He's gone to a few races and tracks outside of Central PA, but not very often, man. So this is absolutely an enormous deal. Now, on this side of the board, a couple of things I want to talk about as well. He started racing the 358 sprint car in the late 1990s. The farthest back I could find was 1998 when he did start racing. And like I said earlier, he absolutely earned this win. It's not like he lucked into it. It's not like, everybody behind him wrecked or everybody in front of him wrecked and he was there on the last lap to win. He led, I believe, every single lap of this race, started on the outside of the front row, and David Gravel was on the pole, right? So Gravel in the dash, he kind of it looked like he maybe went a little bit early and was able to get by TJ on the very initial start of the dash. And honestly, after that, I was like, okay, here we go. It's Gravel. Gravel's going to win this thing. It's over, right? But TJ was able to get around him on the initial start in the feature and really never look back. And it was kind of a tale of two stories, right? It's a tale of a guy getting his first ever Outlaw win and a guy looking for his 100th Outlaw win with Gravel. So it's kind of an interesting storyline there. And then, throughout the race, TJ would kind of pull away. Gravel at the end, though, would catch back up to him, and he would end up actually throwing a slider at him and passing him. And I'm sitting there on the couch with my girlfriend watching, and I said, as soon as he passed him, I'm like, it's over. There's no way that he's going to cross him back up. And he did. He crossed him up and took the lead right back. And, Gravel got close a couple of times. And I probably said within the last 5 or 6 laps with my girlfriend, I said, there is no way that he holds on to this thing, right? There's no way that he's going to hang on and get this win, and he did, man. He was unfazed, in the, most pivotal moments of his sprint car career. He is hanging on, making clean laps, not making mistakes. He's making good decisions through traffic and things like that, and was able to get the win. So, very, very well-deserved win, a very popular win. You heard the people in the grandstands chanting his name in victory lane. You could see how excited he was to get out of the car and be a winner with the Outlaws. And that's something that I feel like in today's age, we just don't see that very much anymore, right? We see Gravel win and, he's like, oh, yeah, I won another one. Or you see Brad Sweet win with High Limit and, oh, yeah, I got another one, right? You don't see guys with that much elation, that much excitement, that much energy and all that good stuff when they get out of the car as a winner. And it was super refreshing to see TJ Stutts get out of the car and know what he had just accomplished and, calling them out in victory lane. We just beat the damn Outlaws, right? I mean, it was just super cool to see TJ Stutts, the 153rd driver to beat the World of Outlaws in their, I can't remember, 53? So since 1978. Since 1978, TJ Stutts, the 153rd driver to beat the World of Outlaws. He joins, and this is an interesting stat. It took me a while to dig this up. He joins Bill Stief, I hope I'm saying that right, Kevin Gobrecht, Todd Schaefer, Lucas Wolf, and Brian Leppo as the only drivers to ever win their first and only World of Outlaws race at the Williams Grove Speedway. Now, Kevin Gobrecht, we could probably argue that he was going to win more races. Unfortunately, he passed, got into a big wreck and was injured and died from those injuries. And we think that, Gobrecht would have won way more races, but you have to, go with the facts here that him, Steve, Schaefer, Wolf, and Leppo, they only won one Outlaw race, and it was at the Grove. And you could probably argue that Williams Grove Speedway is a place where where more first-time winners happen than almost any other racetrack in the entire country. You think of Brock Zierfoss, you think of Cody Dara. Those are two guys that come to mind right now that won their very first Outlaw races at that racetrack. They did go on to win more. Zierfoss won at Cedar Lake, and Cody Dara won again at the Grove and some other places as well. But there's got to be more guys on that list that have won their first and only, their very first Outlaw race happened at the Grove. I mean, for some reason, this place, obviously the Central PA competition is very, very tough. And it's some of the toughest that you see in the country. You think of Central PA, you think of the Cali Click, you think of, kind of that Ohio scene as well as maybe the toughest places to race when it comes to 410 sprint car racing. And so, he joins a list of 6 guys. Well, now he's the 6th guy to win his only Outlaw race there at the Grove. And he, like I mentioned earlier, he is the Williams Grove Speedway track record holder. So they have had speed here recently. That track record was broken earlier this year, or maybe it was last year. So TJ Stutts has been fast here recently. In those 56 A-main starts that he has made in his career, a 16.4 career average finish with the Outlaws. And as I mentioned, before last night, 1 top 5 and 9 top 10s. The rest of the time, he's finishing outside the top 10. He's finishing outside the top 15. A 16.4 average finish, and then he goes on to win a race. Crazy stuff. Also, wanted to mention this at the very bottom. This is where I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Who do you think is the biggest upset in the history of the Outlaws? Jason Sides has probably got to rank up there quite a bit. His first ever win was at the Kings Royal at Eldora Speedway in 2004. There was some crazy stuff that went on, blown tires and whatnot. Sides won. Obviously, he's won more races since then, but that's got to be one of the biggest upsets. Also, the one that everyone was, kind of talking about on Twitter last night that probably is the biggest upset in history. that might rival TJ Stutts is Travis Jacobson when he won against the Outlaws at Skagit Speedway. I can't remember, maybe 2011, 2012. I can't remember the exact year it was, but Jacobson certainly is one that it ranks up there pretty high. Carson Short beating the Outlaws at Tri-State Speedway in Indiana. He ranks up there as well. Ryan Smith beating the Outlaws at Port Royal Speedway. You know, he hasn't won a race with the Outlaws ever since then, and so maybe he's a guy that could be on that list. Ed Lynch Jr., when he won the Silver Cup against the Outlaws at Lernerville Speedway. Aaron Crocker Evernham when she won at Tulare against the Outlaws. Now, that was a prelim night, so a little bit different, but still, she was, I mean, the only female driver to ever win an Outlaw race. That could certainly be on your list. And then Brock Zierfoss, when he won his first Outlaw race at the Grove, driving the Aaron Long 58. So, I mean, there's definitely plenty of more names that could, you know, be on this list as potentially the biggest upset in the history of the Outlaws. But TJ Stutts, in my opinion, has jumped at or near the top of that list. Just looking at the stats, looking at what he's done in his career, nothing would point to you and say, okay, yeah, this guy is going to win a World of Outlaws race someday, right? It's not like you're looking at Chase Randall right now, who hasn't won an Outlaw race, and you say, okay, yeah, he is definitely going to win a race with the Outlaws before his career is over. TJ Stutts at 45 years old, you probably thought that his time has come and gone, but he proved us all wrong last night. So let me know what you guys think about last night's race at the Grove. You know, like it or hate it, you know, or love it or hate it, whatever you want to say. The Grove, it doesn't really put on the best racing, you know, in these times. Last night was a pretty good track. It was a decent race. You know, adding the fact that TJ Stutts won, it was relatively exciting, and I will give a hat tip to the Williams Grove Speedway for putting on a pretty decent race there. So Stutts made it exciting, and now we'll see who wins tonight for the Summer Nationals. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new about TJ Stutts. Let me know what your thoughts were about last night's race in the comment section below. Let me know who you think was the biggest upset for the Outlaws as far as winning goes in the history of the series. I want to hear your thoughts, and hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys again here soon on the channel. Thanks.